Good morning, everyone. I am very happy to introduce not just a friend, but a client, Glenn Bott. Glenn, thanks for being with us today.
Gabe, it is my pleasure, and thank you for the invite.
Absolutely. So Glenn, as we kick things off today, let's get a little bit of background from you. You and I have known each other now for around 5 years. That's when you decided to leave the Denver metro area and move out to the Western Slope, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
But again, with that, you've got quite a story that, really touched me and your wife, and her writing a book literally on you and the story and what happened, and truly touched me at the core. So with that, why don't you give us a quick introduction on yourself and a little bit of your background?
All right. Thank you. This all began a few years ago, 2004. I got off work early one day. I called my wife and said, "Hey, sweetie, I'm going to go out for a bike ride and we'll hook up for dinner." And she said, "Perfect." She was going out of town the next day. So we were going to have a little dinner before she headed out. And she ran a little store in the Arvada area. Get on my bike, I head out. And this is back before the day when we all carried our devices glued to our hip 24/7.
Sure.
So I head out, and it's a nice day. I'm enjoying it. She gets home about an hour and a half later, and I'm not there. And she doesn't think anything of it. I've had flat tires before. So she continues her packing, but then it starts getting darker. No word from Glenn, hasn't seen me. She called people that are along the bike path where I used to ride. No one's seen me. So she's starting to get a little nervous. So she calls her brother, who lives out by there, and they said, no, they haven't seen me, haven't heard from me. So they decide to split up and go out and walk the path where I used to ride. I used to ride around the Arvada Reservoir. So they split up, meet in the middle, no sign of Glenn. So they decide, okay, something's amiss. So they call the police. They get the dispatcher. "Hey, I want to report a missing person." And she says, "Okay, can you describe him?" And she says, "Yeah, he's about 6'1", has a purple bike, and he usually wears a bright shirt when he rides, and he wears a helmet." And the dispatcher says, "Hold on a sec." She comes back a few seconds later and says, "Someone matching that description was in an automobile collision and has been taken to the head trauma hospital. You need to get there ASAP and identify him." And she explained that I was admitted as a John Doe because they couldn't find my ID. And to this day, I learned that lesson. I always have my ID with me now. So they hurry to the hospital. She gets in, rushes in, and asks the receptionist, I'm here to see my husband. And she says, "Okay, what's his name?" She gives him the name and that, and they write it down. And she calls the doctor. And the doctor comes and introduces himself. And again, they don't know if I'm for sure the right person or not. So they walk her down the hall. She looks in the room and for the first time positively identifies me. Yes, that's him. And so the doctor explains. He's had a head-on collision with an SUV. He suffered a severe traumatic brain injury, and it was in the midbrain. And the docs warned her that given his age and the location of his injury, very high probability that life as you know it is over. He said, "So our job right now is to get him to live through the next 12 hours. Once we do that, we're pretty sure he'll survive. But after that, we can't tell you how he'll recover because every brain injury is unique." But again, they warned her, given the severity and location, very high probability that he'll require 24/7 care, and life as you know it is likely over. So that took the wind out of her sails. She came into me, and I'm, unconscious, laying there in bed. And she's telling me, "Sweetie, don't listen to them." She says, "They don't know you. They don't know how strong and powerful you are or how smart you are." So she put her arm around my head and was just holding on to me. And she said, "You're strong, you're smart, you're capable. You're strong, you're smart, you're capable." Over and over and over. And at one point, she said that, and I gave her hand just a little pressure squeeze. And that's all she needed. At that point, she knew I was in there somewhere and that I was coming back.
And just to clarify, Glenn, you said you were unconscious, correct, at that time?
Totally.
Okay. I thought you
totally unconscious, and I ended up, I was in a coma, and that coma lasted for 10 days.
Got it. So you were in a coma and she was just sending you positive vibes and
Correct.
sending you
Correct.
positive thoughts. Okay. Fair.
Correct.
All
And
right.
after I gave her that squeeze, then she, like I said, she knew I was in there somewhere. I was coming back. And so from that moment on, she didn't allow any sort of negativity, any talk in the room. So if someone had something to say other than, hey, he's going to live, he's going to survive, he's coming back, step out in the hall. And so what she would keep our friends and family updated. She'd come in the morning to see me. We lived in Arvada. The Craig Hospital's in, I don't know where it is, South Denver. It was like a 45-minute drive. So she'd come there in the morning, see me, kind of take care of me, make sure things are okay. And then she'd drive back home at night and take care of the paperwork and do that sort of thing for her store. And in the process, she would send out an email every day giving friends and family an update. And so as I started recovering, then a friend of ours said, you ought to take those emails and turn them into a book because it's very inspiring. It's full of good information. And so that became what is now known as the Cocoon Chronicles.
Fantastic story, by the way, that Brenda put together. Again, very, very heart touching. But when you tell that story, by the way, and I know there's more to it, but I literally got the chills through my entire body. And I've heard this story before.
Okay.
We've talked numerous times, but I literally, as you know, and as many people know, I'm an avid cyclist, like you can see, behind me on my wall here in the office. And oh, by the way, I wear a road ID now, bracelet when I ride.
Good job. Good job.
Is a great product to have your ID, or at least, your identification of who you are. But so yes, so life-changing, right? The doctors said life would never be the same.
Correct.
In a coma for 10 days. And then you came out of it, right? And then Brenda nursed you to health, right? And so fast forward a little bit and tell us a little bit about kind of the recovery process and then how that gets you to where you are today and what you're doing today.
Okay. The recovery process was slow, and they warned her about it. They probably warned me, but of course I didn't remember it. So the recovery process, like I said, is slow, and your brain, as I call it, coming back online happens in little pieces. Your short-term memory sucks. Brenda would tell me something and, or the doctors or something. I mean, it's in one ear, out the other. And so what became a useful tool was to write things down. I developed that habit, that technique of just, someone would say something, I'd write it down, put it on the island in the kitchen. I go by it a few times a day. I see it. It helps me remember. It was also interesting. I was an outpatient. I was in Craig for about 2 months full time. And then I got to the point where I was back online enough that I was released to be an outpatient and would go back there a couple times a week for classes and checkups. And I remember one in particular, it was a sort of an assessment. The doctor, my therapist, there were maybe, 8 or 9 people in the room. And they're explaining that your progress has been improving, steadily improving, but lately it's plateaued. And they said, don't worry, because it'll never go back down, but we're just letting you know that this could be as good as it gets. It may go back up. We're in uncharted territory. We just don't know. Every brain injury is unique. And so, the meeting concludes, we're walking back, and there's a bridge across the road there. Craig Hospital's on one side and the rooms and that are on another side. So we parked over there and we were walking across the bridge. Now my balance was pretty bad, so I had to hang onto the railing and walk against a wall. And I just remember it very clearly. I was having a somewhat conscious and aware moment. And I told my wife, I said, I'm not doing this. And she said, you're not doing what? And I said, I'm not going through life brain injured. I'm going to fully recover. And she said, all right, let's do this. And so that became my mantra. I'm going to fully recover. And Gabe, I would repeat that to myself many times during the day. I'm going to fully recover. No one will ever know I had a brain injury. I'm going to fully recover, over and over and over. And when I would remember something from years prior. I was all excited that I could remember it. So I give myself a pat on the back. Good job. Yes, you're fully recovering. And so it was fun from the standpoint that I could see progress.
That's fascinating. So what I'm hearing is that you decided consciously and proactively to change your identity. You didn't want to be identified as a brain injury patient for the rest of your life.
Correct.
And you made a conscious decision that took that positive thinking that Brenda was so good at, and change your daily mantra, as you said, to really produce a different outcome than what the doctors may have had in store for you, if you will.
That's
correct. Fair to say?
Correct.
Yeah.
I would say it was a conscious decision. I would add to that before, again, this goes back, I'm starting to get pieces of my life before. And before that, we had some great mentors. At Coors, I was in the packaging R&D group. We were taught to solve problems, to think laterally, find new connections, come up with new ideas. So it was skilled in that. And then we had a great mentor, and she taught us that what you focus on expands. And that really stuck with me. That's now being said differently these days with what you think about, you bring about, where your thoughts go, the energy flows, however you want to say it, but it works. And so I'm a huge believer in that. And so that became, like I said, that was my mantra. You're going to fully recover and no one will ever know. And I'm happy to say it happened.
And it happened. So with that being said, before we move on, do you feel at this point in your life, virtually 20 years later, right?
Correct.
That you are fully recovered at this point?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I know from previous conversations that day, that accident, correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't remember any of the accident.
I do not. I remember clipping into my bike to go down the street, and that's it. And I don't remember anything else until I woke up, probably 3 months, 2.5, 3 months later in this bed in Craig Hospital. And I can tell more about the story if you want, but that was my first conscious thoughts, was waking up in Craig Hospital and looking out the window and going, that's not a Colorado tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and with that, maybe another day we'll get into the details
Sure.
of what that all look like. But the idea that you are fully functioning today, right? You fully recovered. Yes, you had a major TBI, traumatic brain injury, and that will never change. But you do not let that identify who you are and how you live your life at this point, correct?
Totally true. Yes.
Yeah. And with that, you touched on some of this lateral thinking, right? And thinking laterally and talking about the flow and what I know you're going to get into here is some of that neuroplasticity, right? And some of that creating new neural pathways in your brain. And how do we do that? And what does all that mean? And so interestingly enough, in my last podcast, I actually interviewed a guy named Gabriel Ettinson, as a matter of fact, and he is all about neuroplasticity through light and sound treatment and therapy and even psychedelics. But the idea being that what you're now doing in your professional and personal coaching, life coaching program is all about changing your mindset. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Glenn Bott's Great Life Academy, right? I'm so fascinated by this and by what you're doing because after, again, hearing your story and understanding what you've gone through, you have this great way of looking at, again, how to live your best life possible, knowing that your brain and our brains have a significant impact and mindset. So the connectivity between brain and mind, right? So talk to me a little bit about what that means to you and what you're doing now.
Okay. As I started recovering, it was actually my mom. She goes, you've done a great job here. You ought to go out and spread the word and help other people realize the power of the mind. Or as I say it, you realize your personal power. So I started doing that, and then COVID hit, and then we moved out to Grand Junction. And so then I started thinking there's got to be some other ways. And I came across a gentleman that teaches you how to do some online courses. And so I did that. And so my idea of an academy, Glenn Bott's Great Life Academy, is that we all create our life moment by moment, day by day, primarily because of our thoughts. The story you tell yourself becomes your reality. And so to change your mind, you can change your reality. And so what I've put together is a series of courses on how to begin to love yourself, appreciate yourself, understand the power of your self-talk, understand the power of positivity, and to have your vision, to know what it is you want to create. And I talk about, having money's a part of it, but it's not the whole answer, because as we know, there's a lot of rich people out there that are not happy. They're not content. And so what I'm looking for is how to help people enjoy where you are at the moment. Enjoy your situation. Yeah, you can create more. If you want to make more money, fine, make more money, but it's not going to make you happier necessarily. So get your mind right. And then all that other stuff will come as you begin moving forward.
I love it. I've always felt as though money is what I call a multiplier. It gets you more of what you already have.
I like that. I like that.
If you're a miserable person, making more money doesn't just creates more misery.
You're a richer, miserable person.
Absolutely. So what you're saying absolutely resonates, and the mindset. And with that being said, the mind is so powerful, right? And a lot of my clients are over the age of 60, and they're just starting the second half of their life.
Good for them. Right? Yeah.
And you think about that, and you think about what the quote unquote golden years mean, and you think about what retirement means. And with all that, it's not too late to create the best life possible.
Oh, totally agree.
Absolutely. And as a coach, as a life coach, I believe is again what I think you are at this point. We all need coaches, right? Even the best athletes out there, whether it was Michael Jordan, whether it's Tiger Woods, the greatest of the greats have always had a coach, even to the last day of their career, right? Not that Tiger Woods is not playing anymore, and that's not my what I'm trying to get at, but the point is, it's never too late to have a coach. And so talk to me a little bit about what your program looks like, how people can maybe benefit from your program, and what it ultimately offers.
My program is, like I said, to help people have a great life, create your own great life. And I teach you the tools and techniques on how to do that. You decide on exactly what it looks like for you. The nice thing, I guess, that I learned from this gentleman about putting the classes together is that everything's online. And so we offer some unique criteria for my class, my course, the Academy. You can sign up. There's a lot of stuff that's free. I send out daily inspirational, memes. I do a blog once a week, just, what kind of catches my attention that time. Again, it's to help people think differently. But then the course itself, the actual lessons, it's got a 60-day full money back guarantee. It's only $297 to start with, but you can try it out. Check all the videos, all the material. If you like it, great. And if you don't, you say, hey, thanks, it's not for me. Boom, send me an email. I give your money back. So it's fully guaranteed. You try it out, you check it out, see if it works for you, see if it resonates with you. And if it does, great, glad to have helped. And if not, hey, wish you the best.
I love it. I love it. Well, I've signed up for some of the content already, and I love getting the blog. I love getting the daily inspirational quotes and memes, if you will. And Glenn, with that, you are an inspiration and truly someone that I love talking with, and you've just got such a positive, optimistic energy that I can feel it, right? Just anytime we talk. And so with that, thank you for being here. Thanks for sharing your story and what you're now doing. If people are interested in signing up and getting more information, what's the best way to do that with you at this point?
Best way is go to glennbott.com, GLENNBOTT.com, and it'll walk you through it. You get a lot of free stuff. You can sign up for my free weekly blogs and email, inspirations. And then if you want to check out the courses, there's some free ones you can check out. And if you decide you want to dive deeper, you can do the paid version.
Awesome.
Whatever works for you.
I love it. Glenn, great to see you. Great to chat with you today. Best of luck with your new venture. Congrats on living your best life and greatest life out there on the Western Slope with your amazing wife, Brenda. And again, thanks for your time today, and thanks for joining us.
Gabe, appreciate it. Thanks for the invite. You take care.
You too. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.